I'm Krista in Heuermann.
Hello.
Lynne, tell us about yourself.
So I work as a psychic medium, past life regression therapist, an energy healer, and a paranormal investigator. Yeah.
Okay, and you're also an author.
I am Sophia and the Spirits. That is my granddaughter and brother-in-law on the cover there.
And what's the book about?
So my granddaughter's had experiences since she was around 2 years old, where she would see and sense spirits around her. So she's had nice experiences from, obviously, Peter, my brother-in-law, visits her quite often. My mother visits her, but she's also had experiences from earthbound spirits, which is a spirit that who's a human person who's died and who hasn't yet crossed over into the light. One woke her up one night and she was quite scared. There's also negative energies, entities such as monsters, which is what she calls it. So, yeah, also guides, angels. So everything in the book, like I say, she's experienced it.
So who is the book for?
Kids. Well, actually, it's for everyone. There's a few people I've met who have read the book who have had experiences when they were, say, teenagers or in their 20s, 30s, who have said the tools and techniques in the book have actually helped them as well. So it's mainly can see and sense these spirits and don't know what to do about it, but it's also for the parents.
Yeah.
But it's also for anyone who's having any spiritual experiences. Like I say, the tools and techniques in there will help everyone.
Yeah. I imagine for parents who can't see what the child is seeing, this would be just so helpful because they wouldn't know if the child is just making it up or imagining things. So, yeah, it's amazing. So congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
So I'm a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes as a real estate agent, I might be in a home, on my own at 6:30 on a Wednesday night and start thinking I can hear something upstairs or am I imagining that?
No. Spirits. Earthbound spirits, which everyone's heard of the term ghost. That's what an earthbound spirit is. So someone who's died and hasn't crossed over. It's quite common for people not to cross over. And it may be for various reasons. They may have had a traumatic death. They may not be ready to go. They may have unfinished business. They may like the earth life so much they don't want to move on just yet. But there's many reasons as to why they're here, but there's a lot of spirits around,
So if I go and purchase a house or go rent a house and how would I know that maybe there's something there?
Okay, so there's a difference between spirits and residual energy. Residual energy you can also sense. And that's when, say, there's been, say, domestic violence or there's been a lot of heavy, dense energy in that home. When you walk in, you'll feel it. Yeah. If there's been a lot of loving energy in the home, you'll feel that as well. And you can liken it to if you walk into Alcatraz as opposed to Stonehenge, you can sense and feel that energy. Yeah. So that's like the residual energy, and that can build up in layers over time. If we don't, when we get dust on the floor, we tend to vacuum. But a lot of people don't cleanse their homes energetically. So that energy just can keep building up and building up and building up, and it can be quite toxic after a while.
So what can people do if it's residual energy?
If it's residual energy, there's a few things you can do. You can use a sage stick. Everyone's heard of saging to cleanse the home. That will remove the energies. You can use Australian bushflower essences, which I like to use because they can help spirits to move on.
Yeah.
It's got lichen in it, so if they're wanting to cross over, that will help. Just so you know, when you sage, generally the house will feel really good and you'll think, oh, that spirit's gone, feeling great. Sage can make spirits a bit dopey, but if they don't want to cross over, they might stay around, and you might notice the activity pick up in about 2 weeks after you've done your initial cleansing. So it doesn't always move the spirits on.
So then what?
Like I say, there's tools and techniques that we can use.
Okay.
Other ways to cleanse your home is crystals, open the windows, sunlight, all those types of things will help. The singing bells, the singing bowls, bells, anything, frequency music, all that will raise the vibration of the home.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to move on a spirit, you need to connect with that spirit. But there's a really easy technique. It's in the book. It's all about visualizing and believing what you're doing. Never do any of this work, though, unless you can spirit guides, angels. Who I like to use is Archangel Michael, who's in the book. He's great for moving on spirits, and he's very protective. He has a sword and a shield, and so he's great for this type of work. So what you do is you call in your spirit guides. So call them all in, and then you just create the light. So I just, with my hand 3 times, 1, 2, 3, I'm creating a doorway of light. That's for the spirit to step through.
Okay.
The tricky part, now this is when I connect with the spirit, and I'll start talking to them, and I'll say, well, hey, what's going on? Do you know you're dead? You have to be blunt. Yeah, you have to be blunt. Because a lot of times they don't know if it's been sudden or traumatic.
Oh.
They might have just got out of their body and they wandered around and thought, why is no one talking to me now? It's quite sad.
Yeah.
So I do like to be quite blunt, and then I can say, well, you can't stay in this space. You need to go home. And home, by the way, is so we're 3rd dimensional. Where these spirits get stuck is called lower 4th dimension. And that's kind of the world between worlds. Above, that's 5th, 6th, 7th. That's where we're supposed to go when we die.
Okay.
Got your deceased loved ones, they're on the other side in those higher dimensions. And then you've got the angelic beings, they're higher up again. Then you've got archangels, they're higher up again. So as you go up in frequency, the different dimensions of where we can go. These poor people, and don't forget they are people. Yeah, we go, oh my gosh, it's a ghost, but don't forget they were once a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And they're lost and they're confused. They're stuck in this lower 4th dimension. They can't communicate with their guides and angels who are standing behind them, but they're not aware that they're there.
Oh no.
And they're trying to interact with the physical world, and they're not a part of it. So very frustrating and upsetting for them.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to move them on if you've got them. If you want to move them on and you can't communicate with them or get a sense of what's going on, you can just say, here's the doorway to home. This is where you need to be. Step through. If you feel uncomfortable creating the light and you feel a little bit weird going, hey, Archangel Michael, come here. Hey, I'm going to set up this light. It's different, right? What you can do is just say in a voice, nice loud voice, you need to leave my home. There's light at either you can go to a hospice or you can go to a funeral director's. There's always, doorways open there, which they can cross over into. They can jump in on someone else's light. That's fine.
Okay.
So if you're feeling uncomfortable yourself, you can ask them to go to these places.
Could we call you?
Yes, you can call me. But some people, it's empowering. For some people, it's like taking back their power and saying, well, this is my house.
Yeah.
And no, you can't live here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So for some people, they actually want,
yeah.
Like I say, it's quite an easy technique. Having said that, sometimes if it's ghost, sometimes you may have entities in your space. That's kind of, another kettle of fish. So as we were talking about the frequencies going up, frequencies going down, so you can have negative beings, entities, all the way down to the demonic. Now, the demonic, everyone's heard of that, and they're kind of the worst case scenario. I myself haven't come across many demonic entities, which I think is a good thing.
Good to know.
Yeah. But there are a lot of kind of negative beings out there, and they can be in the home, and what they do is they draw on your energy.
Okay.
They like it when you're fearful or scared or all those kind of emotions that you release. If you see like a shadow being walking around your home, you get scared, and generally you have this sense of absolute terror.
Yeah.
When you're releasing that emotion, that's what they're feeding on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was at an appraisal one day with a girl who I went to school with,
Mm-hmm.
and both her parents are passed on. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or what, but the lights were flickering, kind of flickering on and off, and I was looking at her, and I don't know if it was electrical wiring at the house or something else?
It's actually spirits tend to use the electrical current to try and communicate with us. So if you have things in your home like the lights flickering, like your garage door opening and shutting, like your TV turning on and off by itself, any electrical item that turns on and off by itself can mean it may be a fault.
Yeah.
You know, always look at the practical side of things first. But it may be spirit saying, hey, I'm here. Or it may be someone who lives in the home, you've just moved in, they're saying, hey, what are you doing in my home?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a classic. They can also use like plumbing, because they can come through on the current through the water. So if you start having plumbing problems, that's another thing. Or taps turning on and off, or that sort of thing. Can also, toilets just flushing randomly can also be a sign that there's a spirit around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we think there's a spirit in our house, we can do something about it ourselves, or we can get someone like you.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much for meeting with me today.
Not a problem. Been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.